A phenomenon that we often observe in relationship to mating behavior is synchronous breeding. And I'm not necessarily referring to animals that breed seasonally, because obviously there'll be some synchrony there. But even within a breeding season, where animals seem to be producing offspring right around the same time, even though it could be spread out over a longer period of time. Now, of course, not all animals do this, not all species do this, but there are some that do. But there are reasons for synchronous breeding, sometimes not related to the breeding season. And in fact, there are three such reasons. The first being optimal resource availability. Suppose you are a species that lives in a particularly arid area where there's not a lot of rainfall. Well, if there's not a lot of rainfall, chances are you're not going to be able to find a lot of food to feed your offspring. So what we often see in such species is rain will trigger breeding. And that happens to be the case in the wild with zebra finches who are native to Australia.
It's just this hole full of water and all the zebra finches coming down. You can hear them, they're in the trees all around waiting to come in and have a drink. So it's pretty dry and desolate. With the exception of this one little bit of water down here.
Opportunistic breeding. They take advantage of the opportunity to be sure they can find enough food to feed their offspring by breeding when rain occurs. The second reason is social foraging. It's just a lot easier to find food if you're not the only one out there looking. And so if everyone's breeding at around the same time in your local area, then everyone's going to be out there looking for food at about the same time. And it's just going to be easier to locate food. And we see that in swallows and here.
Fish shoals like these seek refuge from open ocean predators by keeping near the shoreline. But in Galapagos, this strategy can be risky. The coastal margins are the feeding grounds for the most aerobatic hunters. Blue-footed boobies. When the fishing's good, they gather in their thousands. Piercing calls synchronize an assault.
So being able to find food by finding it with your friends, so to speak, is going to be another reason to breed at around the same time. The final reason is predation, actually avoiding predation, and actually making sure your offspring are not preyed upon. This would be another reason for breeding at around the same time in large groups.
These small fish can already feel the vibrations of the approaching predators. Swimming at speed, they formed into a ball, and now they must wait for whatever comes. They've been detected.
Now, this fish example has nothing to do with breeding synchrony, but the reason I'm showing that to you is just to drive home the fact that when there are large groups of animals together, it can basically overwhelm predators. I mean, the chance of you losing your offspring to a predator is going to be greatly reduced, one would think. If you're all in this large group, you're basically overwhelming the predators, and sometimes they don't even know what to do about it. So they'll look for outliers instead, ones that are on the periphery and not with the main group, or ones that are breeding outside of the time when most of the other ones are breeding. The chicks of those birds would be much easier pickings than trying to find any particular individual in a large group like this. Plus, the larger the group, the more the adults can come together to actively, as a group, drive off the predators. So there's that as well. So think of it this way. Posted speed limit, 50 miles an hour. You're driving down the road. You say, that's too slow. I'm going to go 70 instead. Well, you know what? If you're the only one driving at 70 miles an hour in a 50 mile an hour speed limit area, chances are you're going to get caught if there's a cop anywhere around. But if there's a whole bunch of you driving at 70, your chances of getting pulled over are greatly reduced. The cop can't pull everybody over.
How you doing? Need to see your license and insurance card, please.
Yeah, well, he's not doing so well anymore, is he? This phenomenon is actually called the Fraser-Darling effect. Think about it this way. Safety in numbers. That's basically what it is. Fraser-Darling was a naturalist, and he was studying gull colonies and when they were producing their offspring. And what he found was the ones that were breeding synchronously, right around the same time, were more likely to have most or all of their chicks survive. The ones that were the outliers, like at the beginning of the breeding season or at the end of the breeding season, those were the ones that were more likely to lose their chicks to predators. So, safety in numbers, the Fraser-Darling effect, our third reason for producing offspring at about the same time. So, those are some points I wanted to make related to breeding synchrony.